Welcome, everyone, to the MMA Happy Hour podcast. I am Kyle Anthony, your host for today. We are talking UFC Macau, headlined by Yadong and Deiveson Figueiredo. We're going to be breaking down 4 plays here on the show today. Now, last weekend we were off, which was nice. It was a good recharge. I was in Atlantic City for a couple days, and I'm ready to go here. I'm ready to rock and roll. We got to rip through a lot of events here, and I think the next break is probably going to be the July 4th weekend, but then we've got a lot of events coming up. We just have really big events coming up. McGregor, the Pereira versus Cyril Gane fight. So we've got a lot of great things to talk about. But this weekend, we are talking UFC Macau. Now, if you want to become a client, linked on the description. I already have a 5% max bet locked in for clients here. We've been on a nice run here. So let's keep it going here. And with it being said, let's dive into the main event of the evening between Yadong and Deiveson Figueiredo. Now, they've got Zhang sitting at minus 590 on the comeback here. We've got Figueiredo at plus 390. Now, you look at Zhang, we know we're getting from this guy, right? You know, he is an explosive boxer. He's going to come forward, big time power, fast hands, push out good volume. He's looking to stay in your face and really mix it up in the pocket. That's where he's found a lot of success. He can wrestle if he needs to. He can kind of mix that in, but overall, he's kind of looking to stay on the feet and really look to swing hard. Now, he is coming off a competitive fight against Sean O'Malley, which I think is also why this line is where it is because O'Malley's an elite level striker, and he's able to go out there and really have, a good account of himself overall. It was 48-36 on significant strikes. Zhang did have 3 takedowns with 2 minutes of control time, but it just really wasn't enough. It was really O'Malley doing enough each round, outlanding him, and finding that victory by decision. Now, you look at Zhang, this guy's entering his prime here. He's 28 years old. He's been in UFC a while, but he has definitely continued to kind of elevate his skill set overall. While you look at Deiveson, and this is a guy who's primarily aging out of the sport, at this point now. He's 38 years old. We got a 10-year age gap between these two. And, Deiveson, obviously, we know has, done a lot of great things in the UFC, has had a great career, former champion, but it just seems at this point in his career, he's starting to slow down. Things are starting to kind of fall off a little bit for him. I think he's lost his explosiveness. I think he's lost his physicality. I think a lot of those things that really helped him throughout his career. And also, is this weight cut situation where, we're seeing him miss weight. It doesn't really seem that he's all in right now in the fight game at this point here. And he's draining himself. This is the guy that, is maybe not doing all the right things outside of camp. And now, hurting himself at the weight cut. He's going to be draining himself. Things will start to get worse for him. And that's going to be interesting to see now. He's fighting in China, how that all plays out. Now, the biggest issue here, I think, for Deiveson Figueiredo is going to be the fact that, he can't bully opponents. That has been his game. That has been what he's been able to do really well, is move forward, exchange shots, take one to give when he believes in his power. He's going to, march forward, throw, heavy shots. And that's where he has found success. But that game plan in this division at this age, I just don't think really works anymore here. And I think that Zhang is going to have all of the advantages pretty much, I think, anywhere this fight goes. And, Zhang's going to have that strength and physicality advantage. I think that's going to help him, even if there are takedowns. And I think that's going to be something I think Figueiredo is going to look to mix in. I think he, on the feet, it's going to be advantage there, for Yadong. But I think, Figueiredo might look to mix in the takedowns, look to get the grappling going. But I also do think that the strength and physicality and the wrestling of Yadong is going to keep this standing. I don't think that, Figgy is going to find opportunities to get this to the ground. Even if he does, I think Zhang, scrambles right back up, finds opportunities to work at range. And I think this fight mostly does play out on the feet. And that's where I think the dynamic striker that is Yadong is going to have a lot of success here. He's the harder hitter between these two. He's going to have big time power. You've got, Figueiredo, who's a guy that is very hittable. And again, he kind of leans into it just because of his style. He's got his hands down. He's coming forward. He's willing to take the shot because he believes in his power. Now, at this point in his career, I'm not sure if that's the greatest thing for him overall. He has a negative striking differential. I mean, he's getting hit more than he is landing on his opponent. And now you've got the mix between Zhang, where he's got, the much higher volume. He pushes a really high pace. And as well as he's got the power and the crisper boxing. That's a lot of things I think that Zhang, that Deiveson is going to really struggle with as well. And the other thing that we do know about Figueiredo is that he can slow down. His cardio is not good. Now you've got a guy who's got cardio issues. who's had some tough weight cuts and is also aging out of the sport. That's a lot of things. I think he's going to come in drained. I don't think he's going to be, anywhere near that we have seen him way back when. I think that this is a 5-round pace, but I think that you're going to see Song Yadong pushing the volume out, dominating the exchanges, keeping it on the feet. And I think he finds a knockout here. So give me Song Yadong by knockout plus 130. I think is a pretty strong number here. And I don't see this going to the judges' scorecard. So give me Song Yadong by knockout plus 130. And the next one we're going to talk about is going to be Zhang Mingyang. He is minus 265 on the comeback here. We've got Alonzo Menifield. He is plus 200. Now, you look at Mingyang here, this is a guy that the last time he was in China, it was not a good showing for him. The guy went out there as a minus 350 favorite against Johnny Walker, glass chin. Everyone was kind of thinking this was going to be a smash spot for him. And, round one was, fairly competitive. It looked like Zhang kind of probably took it, was taking his time a lot. And then the leg kick showed up and there was really nothing that Zhang Mingyang could do. He had no option to really check it, defend it, didn't really have answers. And Johnny Walker, to his credit, just kept doing it. And once he went down, the fight was over. And it was a second round TKO victory for Johnny Walker. Now, this Saturday, I think, presents a lot of different, aspects to the game. But I think this very much favors Zhang Mingyang in this spot. I know it's a little bit iffy when you're talking about what he has just come from, especially at a minus 350 favorite losing. But again, different stylistic matchup here. And I think the issue here for him in that first fight against Walker was the fact that Walker, yes, he's got a glass chin, but this guy is explosive. He's got power. He's very awkward, unorthodox striking and unorthodox movement. And that can cause a problem for a guy like Zhang, who pretty much is a plodding, slower moving type of fighter. Now, he's got faster hands, all those things, but he does not really move very well. And I think that allowed Johnny Walker to kind of get into the pocket, get out of the pocket, give him different looks, chop away at the legs, come back out. And again, Johnny Walker's a goofy dude, but he does have a lot of power. And I think a lot of that really hurt Zhang kind of getting into a rhythm here. But now on Saturday night, that is not going to be the case here. I mean, Alonzo Menifield is willing to get in the pocket. He's going to stand there. He is an explosive guy, but he doesn't really have the footwork or any of those things I think that Johnny Walker presents here. And he's going to be there. He's going to be in the pocket throwing big looping hooks. And I think that Zhang Mingyang's straight shots down the middle are going to find the target quicker with more power, more accuracy. And I think that's where he's going to find a lot of success early, because I think Zhang Mingyang is a better striker, compared to Alonzo here. I think he's the more technical striker. Again, those straight shots, I think, are really where he's going to find a lot of success. The power advantage also is going to be on the Zhang Mingyang side. And also, a lot of times, when you hear people talk about Alonzo Menifield, it's, hey, he's got big power. This guy's got big power. We haven't seen it in years. The last time this guy knocked anyone out was back in 2022 against Misha Serkinov. And Misha was getting knocked out by pretty much everybody at that point, just before he retired. So that's, I don't really see it. He's not really just blasting guys anymore. It's pretty much, he's swinging wildly and, has won some sloppy decisions against inexperienced fighters. This is, I think, a different story here. Now he's 38 years old, 11 years older than Zhang Mingyang, lost his explosiveness. And I think that's where you're going to see Mingyang go forward, land big shots early, and test that chin of Alonzo Menifield, because out of the 5 losses that Alonzo had, 4 of them do come by knockout. So he is susceptible to it. He is a guy that can be knocked out, that is now aging out. The chin is looking a little dicey. He's been brutally knocked out multiple times. I mean, some of these knockouts are just absolutely, a murder. And, again, he's aging out of the sport. And also, I do think the fact that, Zhang, hopefully he has addressed the whole leg kick situation. But this is a fight where he's not going to even have to deal with it. We've got Alonzo, who is primarily going to box, going to throw big shots. He's not going to just find opportunities to chop away. That's what really, Walker brings. Again, he brings a more versatile attack. This should be, they stand in the middle, they exchange. And I think the far better striker, the far better boxer here is going to be Zhang Mingyang, where he can freely move forward and get his offense going. And the last part is the cardio. There is cardio concerns here, under the Zhang side, but I also think that Alonzo Menifield's cardio is worse. So I don't think this fight goes far enough that the cardio is going to even matter here. So you got to give me Zhang Mingyang by knockout inside the first 2 rounds. That's sitting around minus 120. I think that's a really strong spot. It's how he likes to finish guys. I think Alonzo will be there to be hit. And I think he finds that knockout. Give me Zhang Mingyang by knockout inside the first 2 rounds at minus 120. And the next one you're going to talk about is going to be Meng Ding. He is minus 118 on the comeback here. We have Jose Henrique. He is minus 102. Now, you've got Ding, who is a guy who is going to be very aggressive. He's going to come forward. He's going to crash the pocket, look to throw everything with 100% power, and really mix it up out the gate. That first bell rings, he is going to march forward and look to swing heavy. And that's where it's going to be very interesting here because he does believe in his power. He's got 35 victories, 28 are by knockout here. And he can mix in takedowns, but primarily he's going to look to exchange in the pocket, throw hard, and find success there. While you've got Henrique, who, is 8-1 as a pro, but still only just 24 years old. And from what I've seen, going back watching tape, he's very green. He's very raw. He's got a lot to learn in this game here. And you look at, what he's done, he's pretty much displayed a lot of, deficiencies. And one of the biggest deficiencies that he has shown is his striking defense. This guy is absolutely there to be hit. He's, just is a guy that is willing to exchange in the pocket, but lacks a lot of the things that you need to hang in the pocket. And, he's got the tall man defense, doesn't really, not defensively aware. And I think that's where Ding can find success, push the volume out, and land those bigger shots, because I think striking wise, Ding has a big advantage here. I think he's got the cleaner combinations. He's more polished striker between these two. Jose, I think primarily is a guy that, very basic striking, can be very sloppy, lesser power. There's multiple things that are going to be issues for him when they are exchanging in the pocket here. And he also, I think the mix between, the bad defense, the weaker striking, and yet willing to brawl. Those 3 things I think are going to add, a lot of problems for Henrique unless he can kind of mix up the game plan a little bit. But if they're going to stand and strike, I think Ding has a massive advantage here. And then also you've got to add in, the experience. Far more experience here for Ding. He's got 44 professional fights. He's 31 years old with 44 professional fights, 35-9. Excuse me, 35-9. Jose 8-1 as a pro. This is, that's a massive amount of experience. That is not the end all be all, but that is a big advantage here that he's going to have, is just the experience level of Ding at this point here. And plus, the last time that we've even seen Jose Henrique fight was back in 2024, because he's had visa issues. He's had scheduled fights, wasn't able to make them. They were canceled, whatever it may be. But again, that's not the greatest look here, where he's struggling with that and just getting in the cage here. And I think that this could be a vet lesson here, where, Meng Ding goes out there, pushes the volume out, lands the more impactful shots, better on the feet, more power. And I think he can mix in takedowns if he needs it. So give me Meng Ding to get the victory here at minus 118. And the last one here we're going to talk about is going to be Jacqueline Amorim. She is minus 118 on the comeback here. We have Loma Lookboonmee. She is minus 108. Now, this is definitely going to be a striker versus grappler matchup here. There's absolutely no doubt about it. You've got Jacqueline Amorim, who is, top level when it comes to jiu-jitsu. She was a world champion in BJJ prior to coming to UFC. And Amorim is gonna, if it gets to the fight goes to the ground, she's going to find success. But if the fight plays out on the feet, pretty much that you've got Loma, who is a, pretty solid Muay Thai striker. She's got good combinations, and whoever gets their game plan going is going to win this fight. If she can get some takedowns, she's going to find a lot of success. If this fight plays out of the feet, you're going to have, Loma find a lot of success with just working the striking and outstriking her over the 3 rounds. But there's no doubt that the path to victory for Jacqueline Amorim is the takedowns. She absolutely has that opportunity to get it going. And many times, she doesn't even need a lot of takedowns. Over the 4-fight win streak that she had prior to a recent loss, she only secured 4 takedowns. And out of those 4 takedowns, all of them came inside the distance. She had 3 submissions, 1 knockout, and it shows that, she doesn't need many takedowns to find that finish. And that's where the grappling vulnerability comes in here. for Lookboonmee, where, she definitely is somebody that, when she loses or when opponents want to take her down, they find opportunities to win in that fashion. And, she has faced some strikers that are a little bit weaker, don't have the skill level that Loma does have. And, didn't have to worry about takedowns. So she was able to find success. But when she faces the wrestlers or people that can get the fight to the ground, that's where, again, she can be exposed. Over her 3 UFC losses, she's been taken down 11 times. And over those 11 times, she's been controlled for 21 minutes. So that's a lot. That's definitely a lot. And again, she has not been taken down in many fights, but when they're there, they're able to find the success. And she's even mixed in her own takedowns because she realizes how much success the opponents are having. So she's mixing it in, but she's not going to look for takedowns here. There's no way that Loma is going to look to take down Amorim. She has such a high level grappling. She's good off of her back. She's opportunistic submission game. A lot of things she can do on the ground. Now, again, striking wise, definitely the advantage to Loma, but the threat of the takedowns is going to make Loma uncomfortable. She's going to be a little bit leery entering the pocket and throwing kicks. And that's something else where, if she doesn't get the kicking game going, that's a big chunk of her striking is, a good kicking arsenal. Now, the kicking arsenal can open up opportunities for Amorim to get a takedown here and time it right behind one of those. And that's where I think it may make Loma a little bit, tentative throwing those kicks. And that means that she's not allowing half of her striking offense to really get going here. And I think that you have the 6.5-inch reach advantage here for Amorim as well. And, you've got the smaller Loma, who is small for the division here. And I just think this is a good buy low spot on Amorim. Over her last few fights, she has been a massive favorite, minus 700, minus 500, minus 350, big favorite. Now it's come down to a pick 'em price tag here. I think this is a great buy low spot. I am on Jacqueline Amorim to get the job done. She probably does it by submission, but I'm comfortable here with the minus 118. It's going to be Jacqueline Amorim to get the job done at minus 118. So there you have it for my plays for UFC Macau. If you want to become a client, link down in the description. Again, I've got a 5% max bet up for clients, and we've got a lot of events coming up. So stay tuned and let's get the job done. See you next week, and let's cash.